This episode of the Auto Tech Show is sponsored by Zebra Technologies, connecting you with the edge, where the future is boundless. Hello and welcome everyone to the Auto Tech Show. My name is Mark Babin and you are joining us for the final episode of this series, all of which have come to you from the UK in close collaboration with our sponsor for this series, Zebra Technologies. In an era of automation, data intelligence, and AI-driven optimization, the modern automotive factory is no longer just about production. It's about connectivity. As digital transformation reshapes the industry, manufacturers must embrace real-time change, predictive analytics, and AI-powered decision-making to stay competitive. This episode explores how automotive manufacturers are leveraging technology to improve efficiency, reduce their downtime, and create more resilient supply chains. Our guest for this episode is Zebra's own Stephan Pottel, the Industry Director Manufacturing for Europe, Middle East, and Africa markets. Stephan's combined expertise of technical education and tactical sales behavior gives him a unique edge in taking the right decisions, making him the perfect guest for our topic today. Stephan, first and foremost, thank you so much for welcoming me to your office here just outside of London. Great to have you. Thank you for your time. Really looking forward to your insights today.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Same for me. Thank you for having me on your podcast, and I think also on the first episode. As you said, I'm responsible for looking into the market developments in the manufacturing sector, and also working very close with our ISV partners, as the industry is developing quite fast, especially the automotive manufacturing industry at the moment. There are so many external challenges, geopolitical ones, but also like labor and others, where the companies have to stay at the competitive edge. They have to move. They have to kind of get the latest technology in to find labor, to keep labor. It's important that you continuously innovate for ergonomic workplaces, so that you are trying to outpace the competition, so that the skilled labor is the skilled labor, which is the gap that these industries have. There is really a fight for it, and continuous investment into automation technologies, into digitization helps, as you can then kind of let these people focus on the value-adding jobs, so that when you put in automation, or when these companies are extending their use of automation, they are looking into how can we digitize areas that have not been digitized yet to the full extent. So that's something that we're seeing in the market.
And you are seeing it. You've been in the game, and we'll get into it a little bit more, but you've been in this industry for a long time. Are you seeing that adoption become more common?
I think latest technologies are helping to let these adoption grow. When you look back in the past, kind of digitization started with, okay, we have something barcoded, so we can start tracking assets throughout the production process. Since the last years, I think everybody knows that supply chains were under enormous stress. This started with COVID, where the world was on standstill, and then it has to start again and come back again. And I think the people then learned that the years before, where supply chains were, I think in the positive note you could call it lean, but they were also thin. So it was just in time, just in sequence, globally connected. But when then COVID hit, and then all the strains from it, right? Everybody remembers the ship in the Suez Channel, where supply chains across the globe again stopped. So companies were kind of moving from just in time, just in sequence, more into just in case something happens. And this showed that they had no good visibility on their supply chains, and especially they were not able to adopt to these changes. So that's something that companies learned. And one of our recent studies, Zebra is doing industry vision studies, and that's part of the roles that are like that I have and members of the team that I'm in. We are looking into specific vertical markets, better understand what is in the minds of our customers, what are they doing now, what are they doing in the next five years, and there are a lot of statistics, but there's one that stands out, which is so we've asked 1,200 people, decision makers, IT people, operational technology people, and 16% of them only said that they have complete real-time visibility on their supply chain. 16. So that leaves, so there's 84% they have gaps. And my gut feeling is it's not just one gap. There are still a couple of gaps because supply chains are still not as safe as they pretend to be before COVID. But now with all the, as I said before, the geopolitical influence, be it the tariffs, China +1, all the things that and we know this as a global manufacturer of goods. So of course we have production across the globe and a lot of in Asia Pacific. We learned that lesson as well to be more agile in terms of when it comes to changes or kind of bottlenecks into your supply chain. So that's something that I think that's driving the automotive industry. Yeah. And because this is the focus of today, I think the most, but also the others are looking and had to change the way they work.
Yeah, absolutely. And historically, it used to just be about efficiency. Just used to be about how efficient can we make our current processes. But it's becoming quite clear now that it's much deeper than just efficiency. Yeah. Can you speak to the importance of that interconnected, data-driven manufacturing and factory?
Yeah, I think what we saw is, so when we look into efficiency and predictability comes with visibility, right? You need to see where your production is at and where your subcomponent, also your sub-suppliers are. So, and this is something that companies have learned, that they need to have a closer grip, better grip into the operations or into the production readiness of their tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 suppliers. As a result, what we see is that technologies like RFID or barcode scanning, 2D codes, etc., are so they were used in this industry in silos, and now especially the car makers are imposing the use of specific data capturing technologies up and downstream the supply chain, so that they can see, especially are the seats, the bumpers, the suspension, is this coming in time, or do we have gaps in the production process? So that's something where I think we said, which has changed when we look back a little bit. As I said, as long as it was inside the four walls, they all had a lot of visibility of what they're doing. I'm not saying this only has come after COVID, but to go further down and upstream in the supply chain, that's something where there's more. What we see, there is more innovation pressure as well. There's investments going into, and these companies have to see, how can we satisfy our need to have visibility, but still keep the sub-suppliers their own companies, right? So that how to interact with them, that's something that companies have implemented, but a lot of them are still learning as well.
Still learning. Do you recognize, and obviously you deal with a lot of different types of technology and different elements of what we're seeing in this digital revolution, are there key specific technological advancements, IoT, AI, automation, the list can go on.
Yeah.
Are there key ones that you feel have played the biggest role in reshaping, if we look at the automotive manufacturing side specifically?
Well, I think there are different technologies depending on where you want to improve your process and your business. I think I touched on RFID. Mm-hmm. So I'm in that industry for more than 20 years, and I think even before I started, people were always saying this is the year of RFID until we couldn't hear it anymore. Right? It's a say that. Yeah, but what we see, I wouldn't say it's a year, but it's a time for it. So we see the adoption has massively grown over the last couple of years, not just in the automotive industry, but also because in very in verticals like, verticals like transport and logistics, postal, there are now big companies in the world who are doing single item tagging, which brought the prices down. And also the technology has greatly advanced. You can do real-time locationing using passive RFID now. So things that have been very difficult in the past is much easier now. Other things, when you look into, I think the topic we had in the beginning about labor attrition, if you want to kind of empower your workers or support them in a very best way, there are topics like AI are coming into place. To take an example, when you have your standard operating procedures and you do 8 of these 10 or during a normal job, then you know them by heart. But if there is an exception, you have to look it up somewhere. And now with small language models like GPT. For very specific niches, that's something that we are seeing, and a lot of customers are testing that out. How can we empower the worker? They can ask a question, how do I have to handle it? Mm-hmm. And then the system comes back and says, yeah, okay, you have to do this and this way. And they don't have to look up books. That's something where...
it's immense power right there.
Yeah, this is from human, but also to support traditional technologies with all the good things that are coming with the very different ways of AI, right? AI is a big topic, but we at Zebra, we use AI very specifically when we do our machine learning and deep learning algorithms, so that we are not, for us, AI is not just co-pilot. For us, it's really how can we apply these deep learning algorithms into our machine vision barcoding solutions to read more at once, or to kind of do a contextual decision while you are scanning, so that the system knows, is this a valid barcode based on the process? This is where we can simplify the life of the worker. And things like digital product passport, just to touch this very, very briefly, there is a lot of more scanning and data capture activity that has to happen, at least for most of the players. And there's something where you can always add technology stacks and more scanning and mm-hmm. But you need not to make it too much of a burden for the operational process. This is the worker, but it's also the industrial automation line. Mm-hmm. So you need to integrate it somehow. And there are technologies who are that smart and supported by AI. I think there is very good. I think these are things that I would see that has supported in the very recent past, but there is a lot more to get in the future.
Yeah, and I think it's only going to exponentially happen as well. What we've seen in the last 5 years is going to be done in the next year. Yeah, and then what's done in the next year will be done in months, and it's just iterations on iterations, isn't it? It's just continually proving. From your guys' perspective, from the work you're doing, how do you plan for that rapid advancement of how it's going to grow? How do you proactively prepare for that advancement and how you're going to use it? Obviously, you're working on solutions down the line. Yeah. But how do you prepare for what's coming when it's changing so quickly?
Yeah. So I think we are quite leading the market when it comes to newer or to latest technology. Looking back, I always try to look back to always love to look back to find an example, right? When we at Zebra onboarded on the Android space, I think it was 2014, 15,
Wow.
maybe a middle earlier even. I think the rest of the industry said, "Yeah, that's not going to work. It's not the secure. Windows will be there forever." So we have, as we just do our products, and we love what we do. We have always teams, and Zebra's spending 10 to 11% of its global turnover just into R&D.
That's fantastic.
Every year. We are, and when you look into our where we spend it, when you look into the portfolio of machine vision, that especially in the manufacturing market for us, it's very, very important. How quickly we have developed, coming from a smart camera now into fully functional machine vision solutions, and we have developed a great software suite that's all using AI in a lot of extent. So we are always trying to be the first in the market. We are trying a lot of things. Sometimes these trials are not successful. That's part of trying things.
Yeah, that's so great.
And then we pivot, and then we do something new. But it's clear for us that data capture will remain. But will it always be the 1D barcode? I have my doubts. I think we have the 2D now, but we will potentially also, in the foreseeable future, have technologies that can identify the product on its own. So it will be a combination of, I like to say, is a context-based recognition, so that the system understands the scenario it's in using AI and then takes the right decision.
I think that's a great use of how AI, because that's the thinking it can do. I think and you're right, that's how it's going to evolve to be. Yeah. As it's evolved to where it is now, to get rid of those mundane tasks, it's going to get rid of that mundane contextual thing as well.
There is another example that I found quite interesting. So when you do machine learning, so when you want to train a machine learning system, you still need pictures. You need to let the system understand what's good, what's bad. Companies are using AI to create those images now. So it's an AI that's supporting another AI. That's something, because otherwise you would need to find thousands of good or bad images.
Yeah, no,
and you can tell AI, this is good, and create us 10,000 of images, and then you bring these images to the AI who should detect that, and then
it learns from each other again.
So that's pretty cool, and this is, I think, something where we will continuously see things going.
Yeah, it gets more and more complex, but the tools get smarter to be able to build those scenarios.
Correct.
As we get into these 2Ds, 3Ds, like you were mentioning.
And there is another thing also, what companies are looking at. Not saying we are doing that specifically, because companies in general are looking at, is that when you want to put in a new system, so far you need a lot of machine vision expertise and engineering people where you're short of, right? Because it's skilled labor.
Absolutely.
So also that systems start to understand the scenario they are used in, and then they do an auto configuration based on what some parameters that you give, but that you can, people say it's called the democratization of it, but just to give it to the operational people, to the process engineers to do it, and not so much to super highly skilled machine vision expert as it was in the past. So that's something I think where the industry will also go for.
And that brain can then be used to tackle the next development. And again, get rid of that mundane task again. I think that's fantastic. So I want to get into a little bit more of the efficiency on the production side. We know downtime in manufacturing is one of the biggest challenges that manufacturers deal with, automotive, other industries. Looking at, I know AI is a big word, but looking at it as a holistic topic, and the whole predictive maintenance side of the technology that it can bring. How are those helping companies and factories move from that reactive approach, where maybe downtime is something they have to deal with, to maybe more of a proactive, avoiding downtime altogether? How are you seeing AI play that role?
I think this is kind of the big data AI. So there is a lot more sensors. I think 2 or 3 years I had the statistics from IBM. They said that there is up to 7 terabytes of data can be produced by one production line per day in terms of sensor data.
Massive silo.
In the past, this all went into a big data lake, and nobody knew what sat there. And now with AI, you have the tools, data lakes, and then use things like Palantir, Databricks. These companies that are kind of getting the essence or the sense out of it. I think this is something this is where AI will greatly help because it gives a faster access. It can compute that much faster. It can give you context-based results, and it can predict much better than in the past that a valve is gonna fail. And it is not so much that the requirements are drastically changing, but the way to address them and the way to really use the data that you have with AI and give better and faster predictions. I think this is where that works well. And then I think also when we're coming back to also the kind of the area where our both companies are quite well in, if you then bring that down to the worker, right? Even if you have the data, but you also need to see in the future how can I bring this into an ergonomical solution so that the worker doesn't have to carry five devices or have 2 or 3 different programs to work on. Have it maybe one or two depending on the job that you have, but bring that to the right worker at the right moment in time. So I think it's first analyze the data. That's super important and make the predictions better. But then also bring that in a very ergonomic way down to the worker.
In a couple of the conversations I've had this week, we brought up the topic of data being used and trusted. Mm-hmm. Can I ask, the conversations in the companies that you're working with, a lot of higher up decision makers have trusted their own, in my experience, this is how we prevent this. And in my experience, this is how we deal with this. But now data is being used to counter a lot of those, trust me, I have the experience type of, in the service world and in the front end, we see that a lot. Do we see that in manufacturing as well, where people are having a hard time trusting the data that they have to use? Or is that shift happening?
I think it depends. Always, because I have to say that because this is not black and white. Okay. But I think there is. I think AI. If we talk AI and how AI works, I think AI is a way to let machines act more like humans, or at least come closer to that. Kind of have the decisioning process, so that helps traditional companies to better trust. But I think there is still a lot of disconcern or a lot of concern. Say, well, this is a box. This is coming from a cloud-based system. I really don't know what are the algorithms. But when you then see the results, and I think the goal is with AI to get better, but also to be closer to a human decision. People start trusting, it's not so different much away or different from what I would have done if I would have to take the decision. I think this is.
But seeing how they got to that new decision rather than it just being presented, kind of the math behind the solution rather than just the solution.
Correct. Yeah,
that's kind of the secret maybe for it and how it can be used to trust.
Correct. Yeah, this is I think where it's still, it is still. People are, especially when you have these very diligent technicians for plant maintenance, they need to see what happened, that they know what the problem is. And on the other hand, these skills are leaving the company. And then when you get new people in, and then we're coming back, labor attrition, churn rates, you don't have the time to ramp up someone over months and years to give him a little bit of the experience that you need. And there, AI and trained systems can again help, because they then make the right suggestions for a problem, and that can help you ramp up the skill set or support the younger generation workers to get up to speed quicker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether your biggest goal is increasing actionable visibility, augmenting and empowering a productive workforce, or optimizing quality and traceability, Zebra has what you need to advance in your journey and transform everywhere from the plant floor to the warehouse and across the supply chain. Because the connected factory is where innovation and productivity finally meet. And Zebra is ready to help you get there.
So sticking on the topic of some of these tools and how we're seeing them impact, what about digital twins and real-time tracking? Yeah. I think those are two elements that we're seeing a lot more of, and they've been around for a while, but how they're developing, I think, is quite interesting. Can you speak to the advancements of how those technologies are impacting manufacturing when we look at the supply chain, when we look at reducing waste, improving efficiency?
Yeah, yes, to a certain extent. So I think digital twins are twins. Mm-hmm. Maybe at this point, to a certain moment digital, but twins. I think one of the first, and I think it's quite a nice story. One of the first that's been recorded was when we had the Apollo 11 mission.
Oh wow!
1969, a couple of years before I was even born, where they ran into an issue approaching the. I think it was either approaching or leaving the moon. Something that they have not tested before.
Okay.
So Houston, the command control center, had to rebuild the situation on Earth to then reconfigure the computer at the spacecraft to get around that problem.
It's the original twinning.
Kind of the twinning of something.
The concept was kind of being born.
This is one of the very prominent examples. 1969, by the way, the year where Zebra was founded, interestingly, and DHL. Story, but quite a good year.
Yeah.
But I think the digital twins are helping a very different aspects. You can, of course, simulate changeovers. I have an example there of a company that have manufactured, I think, computers, and they wanted to change the production line. They want to make it more efficient, less space consuming.
Okay.
And then they create a digital twin of it, and by running the test, they identified that there is not enough space to put a screwdriver on a specific screw. So if they would have not tested that, they could not have finished the product because the worker or the machine had simply no space. So this is, I think, digital twins. So digital twins you can apply almost everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And it really helps. I think it's a great method to, of course, face problems before they occur. You can use it in waste reduction. You can see what is the spill, what is the environmental impact that certain production methodologies have. You can model the whole process from receiving the raw materials or the sources, assembling a product, and bringing it into the market. So. Yeah, it is something that definitely helps to be more efficient because you kind of can skip to a certain extent, skip the physical trials. I think you still should do a little bit of it, but
real world scenarios. Yeah,
the real world you still need, but I think you probably can kind of eliminate 80-90% of the errors that you normally would do in a real world scenario, and that helps massively. So that's where digital twins are for me are.
Super valuable.
Super valuable, and again, AI is boosting it because it can simulate a lot of stuff. It's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And then how it's impacting that real time efficiency. Do you see digital twinning being used? It's probably being used in a wide variety of spots. Mm-hmm. To have the most impact, do you see it being valuable in that development and that processing, or do you see it in a real-time scenario being more impactful, or is it kind of equal?
Okay. I think most of the companies start with the design phase of it. The real world.
Like I was say, manufacturing on the floor happening in real time. Yeah. They're constantly iterating better ways and more efficient ways to work upon it in real time.
I'm guessing. I have to say, I'm guessing. I think it's morally used to design things. I think the data that's captured during the manufacturing process is used for different aspects. And I think if companies want to change something in their flow, then they will use that real-time data to model a digital twin to see what is the impact of the proposed change.
Okay.
That's how I would answer that. But
yeah, it's still more of a unknown. I guess it's really a variable that's dependent on that specific manufacturing process, that organization, a company developing hardware parts for vehicle versus tire technology versus solution is all going to use it perhaps in different ways.
Yeah, I would guess. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, it has to be that way. Excellent. Okay. So to the future of the connected industry, obviously you work in the Zebra team works, you really, and you said it earlier, really like a defining leading team on how technology will evolve, and you're constantly doing that on new technologies you bring to the market, projects you're working on. So you're really helping to define that. So I think your insight on this will be quite unique. From what you can share, because I know there's probably a lot of locked doors in the building of things going on. But from what you can share, what will the next 5 years look like when we look at digital transformation in the automotive space?
So, I think what we will see, I think when we look at the manufacturing facility for automotive, the heart of the factory, the assembly line, is super digitized already. There are still potentially some gaps, niches, where companies will still look into invest and also can create a return on invest of it. But otherwise, they are not doing it anymore for the beauty of technology. That's over in this current situation. So it needs to make sense, commercially sense. So what we see, and I think the market is kind of supporting that, is that there are, when you look left and right to the assembly lines, there's a lot of manual work still going on
around the main line.
Yeah, preparing stuff to go onto the line, exception handling, all the things that you cannot do with a normal flow. They're all digital tools in it. So they have screens, they have scanners, they have keyboards, they have electronic measurement tools. But is this a very ergonomic workplace? Is this connected? Is this interconnected? So that's something where, and there are a lot of companies now in the market. They call them these connected frontline worker platforms. You see them, I wouldn't say like mushrooms, but a lot of them. So we are going to be at Hannover Messe next week. We are partnering up with 3 or 4 of them. They have our devices on their booths. We have them as partners. There's a whole area with Microsoft and Amazon who are supporting these companies as well with their cloud infrastructure. And there's a lot of interest in that, because what companies can't do is spend enormous amount of money in building the next best, very niche process to support this. They are looking, can we bring the engineering of that down to the shop floor? Again, democratizing the design and the implementation of this process. So future is digitization will spread
beyond the assembly line.
Yeah, beyond the assembly line, because there's a lot of things to do. And also coming back to our first topic again, to say it is how to best use the available labor. So get them the right tools.
100% agree.
That this is all interconnected. So this is, for me, this is one. And then I think also the automation will still continue. So where you have currently digitized processes which human interaction, this is something with new technologies, new vision technologies, new vision detection technologies, RFID technologies, where you will see an increase of automation again, so that you can streamline these repetitive processes. That could be scan gates at dock doors when you receive a full pallet of goods. Use RFID vision, whatever it is. It can be, I think everybody's using AMRs and AGVs at the moment, but also there in this market, you see there are a lot of new innovations coming. I just recently saw a company that just had these 2 forks of a forklift. This is all they had. And they are coupled them together so that you don't need a forklift. They can lift a pallet by 5 to 10 centimeters. And it's always a twin of these
Yeah.
Single fork. This is all they have. You
So
don't need
there's
the
no
fork.
machine driving it. It's all built into the forklift
It's
itself.
all. These are things where, and there is so much innovation still in that market that I think there is a lot more to come when it comes to put more automation into the processes which are not highly automated. Yes, of course, they will also innovate and improve the assembly lines, and there is still, I think, a lot of stuff to get. But I think the adjacent process is something where we will see a lot of investment and a lot of investment going into, and by that also a lot of innovation coming out, and we see that in the market.
It's super cool. I can hear the passion behind it when you're speaking about it. It's something obviously you're excited about.
Yeah.
As kind of a last question, and I know I didn't give you this one in advance, but just your initial feeling. Are you excited about the future of this industry and technology? Are there things you're worried about, or are you just genuinely excited about what is coming down the pipeline?
So I'm not worried. I think because all the companies in this industry are changing, right? They all see that we cannot do barcoding for the next 15, 20 years. The barcode will remain. I have my concerns if we stick to the 1D barcode, because the information that you can capture is just not good.
It's not enough anymore.
It's not enough. So we will have 2D barcodes. As I said before, we have other means of identification, deep learning, OCR. Do I need a barcode to identify a product? Can I just identify a product by it? So this is what keeps me excited about it. To say there is all the things that we are doing, digital product passport, visibility. You need to make products identifiable. This will continue, and this will even surge because you know all the returns regulations that are coming. You need to, and even these products have been used, so you cannot make sure the barcode is still correct, but you still need to have a methodology to identify the product.
Sure.
So I think this is what the companies in that market will continue to innovate there, and that's what keeps me very optimistic about the market. And I think there is companies are requiring these solutions to come out. So this is on the identification. And to close, I think there is still a lot of good things to do to equip the workers with better, more intuitive technology. Do they have to wear a device? Can they wear something on the body that is just a camera? Are there other means of identifying the scenario and the products? This is something where I think you will still require very good product-centric companies to bring these things to life.
Yeah, they have to be super specialized in a lot of these things with the partnership, with the support of resources that can supply them with the ability to do what they want. I think that's what I love to see in this industry more than ever is, and again, as just kind of like that final note, is just seeing everyone come together at the right time to give the resources and to give the skill to produce what they need. I think that is an incredible, powerful thing that I think is quite unique to automotive. I have not looked super deep into others, but it's amazing how competing companies will come together to bridge a solution.
And
I think that's quite a great thing to see.
So I think, and to maybe a last sentence on it, I think we will see companies, technologies, people be connected more and more and more.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for your insights, for sharing those stories and those examples. It's really nice when I can get you and come to your office to get you to have this talk, but I appreciate it, everything you guys are doing. And thank you so much for today. Yeah,
and again, thank you for having me. And I think it was I liked the exchange, so thank you for that, and always happy to have you here again.
I'll definitely make a point too. Thanks again.
Cool. Thanks, Brian.
And for everyone watching and listening to this episode of the Auto Tech Show, thank you so much for being with us. Hopefully you've learned a little from those examples, from those insights. Plenty to take away on that episode. If you have any questions or comments about what you heard from myself or Stephan, head down to the podcast notes, links and resources there to help you along, and for you to get in touch with us if you do want to add to the conversation, please do. If if you feel a question or a comment you want to add. But with that, we'll bring this episode to a close. A big thank you to Zebra for being part of this series and helping to bring this to life. We wish you a fantastic day wherever in the world you may be, and we'll see you soon. Once again, this episode of the Auto Tech Show was sponsored by Zebra Technologies, connecting you with the edge, where the future is boundless. Learn more at zebra.com.